Cup Series regular season finale, Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern on NBC and Peacock from Daytona International Speedway. A lot on the line, guys. And I think one thing that everybody's wondering is what kind of race are we going to see with so much at stake? And if you go back the last 7 years at Daytona, only one race has there been fewer than 30 laps of caution. So essentially, we know that if you look back the last several years at this track, 20% of every race is pretty much running under yellow. So I'll start there, Stevie. I mean, is that kind of what we expect we're going to see? We're probably going to see some wrecks. We're probably going to see some caution flags. And, you know, not everybody's going to make it to the finish with an intact race car.
So Daytona's going to have it all. It's going to have the yellows without a doubt. It's going to have these moments, these intense moments coming to the end of each stage where it kind of gets turned up. It's going to have a moment perhaps of green flag pit stops in that final stage. We can really dice up the field. It's going to have moments of single file around the top. I mean, they're going to be where teammates line up and they're going to drag everybody to the top. The difference is I don't think that moment will last very long because too many people need it to break up. I think that's what we're going to see out of Daytona, Parker, in my mind, is that I think you're going to see a bit of everything. And that's really what's spectacular. You're going to see some 2 and 3 wide. You're going to see some drivers that don't want to engage early. You're going to see some drivers trying to drive this to a little bit conservative approach. But in the end, it's still speedway racing. There's going to be wrecks. There's going to be cautions. And if you want to see an overtime finish, stats would say more than likely you're going to see one.
Got a good chance. And Steve, I think, you know, one thing that really sticks out to me when I think of a race like this, decisions. And that's not just the drivers in that pack that are trying to avoid these wrecks or make the right decisions in drafting, but that's on the pit box, right? That's the decisions you're making in terms of that handling of that race car. This race historically being that, you know, during the daytime, it's upwards of 90 degrees. It will be close to 80 during the race, high 70s. High humidity here. I mean, there's a lot of things that make this a track and a race that handling can matter, right? And that's where there's decisions to be made, though. Sometimes in terms of these race cars, you have to make small decisions that can make big changes to how fast that car has in ultimate speed versus is that driver able to make big moves and change lanes and block lanes and do that comfortably. And that's sort of the decisions that we have often at this race, as opposed maybe to the February, you know, Daytona 500, right? Where it sometimes can be a lot cooler, a lot more grip on the racetrack, that sort of thing. So I think that's what really sticks out to me, why you'll have sort of what you described, which is a little bit of everything. This race being in August is just a different race than what you have in the Daytona 500. Then add in all the things we've talked about in terms of this being the regular season cutoff, the playoff pressure for some of the teams, the drivers and teams that need the pack to be sort of not in a single file position. They need to be racing. They want chaos. They're inviting that chaos to this race. I think that is what makes this race very unique and what makes it entertaining. And why, you know, if I'm looking ahead, you say, okay, well, why would we see a winner outside the playoffs? It's all those reasons. It's the chaos that could happen here. And the idea that, you know, handling and those decisions are going to be something that all these teams are going to be dealing with throughout this whole night.
Well, on the topic of decisions and the chaos, I believe it was Einstein who is credited with saying that the definition of insanity is that when you make the same decisions over and over again and expect a different result. Based on that, is there ever any expectation that perhaps drivers' teams will approach this maybe a little bit differently and maybe we'll have a cleaner race, so to speak, with not quite as many caution flags, or the circumstances always just going to ensure that there's some degree of chaos? And I know, you know, going back a year ago, obviously it was the threatening rain shower that caused the big pile up that Austin Dillon scooted around and that helped him win the race. Like, is there always going to be sort of this element of chaos, or could, you know, drivers maybe choose discretion as the better part of valor and we might see fewer caution flags Saturday?
Zero chance. Where there's ego, there's entertainment. Look, where there's ego, there's entertainment. And if all 36 drivers care about yellows or care about discretion, that's not the driver I want. No thanks. You can have him. I want a driver that thinks this is their chance. There are some names towards the front of the field that have won multiple races. Maybe they don't see Daytona as a moment in their season and this trophy they're going to put on their trophy case. But There's a lot of other drivers that have this race circled as their chance. So for that reason, playoffs or no playoffs, we make the story larger because it does involve the playoff field and it does involve all these other things. But let's not forget what winning on a Sunday is. It is so tough. You know, when you win in the Cup Series, that's the top. That's the Mecca. That is the absolute top of stock car racing on this globe. So the fact that you can do it and then do it at the World Center of Racing, there is zero chance there's going to be some discretion and have a race. If you see calmness, it's purely a strategy by someone who thinks it's going to help their chances of winning the race.
Got to agree. I want to, I maybe make some disagreements here for the entertainment of the viewers out there, but no, I have to agree with you, Steve, because that's what's on offer here. And when I look through this field and I see names like AJ Allmendinger, who had so much success at super speedways over the last couple of years in the Xfinity series, has been up front in the Cup Series races. Justin Haley was up front in this race a year ago when that rain shower hits. And Alex Bowman, who could turn his season around. Chase Elliott, who could turn his season around. There's a huge incentive for many cars that, in my opinion, can win this race. And they have such a large incentive without a lot to lose. And so therefore, to me, that puts, as you put it, ego as entertainment, that puts a lot of egos up at the front trying to vie for that real estate and that track position throughout the 400 miles on offer, and a track that's going to be lacking grip at times, that's going to be throwing all sorts of different things at them. And the decisions are going to have to be made to put yourself in the right places, the right time. They're all going to have to add up perfectly if you want to be one of those drivers that gets, or the driver that gets into victory lane. So to me, that's a recipe for a very entertaining event.
All right. And we'll be able to watch that entertaining event Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern on NBC and Peacock. Catch all the action from Daytona International Speedway regular season finale for the Cup Series. Thank you for watching NASCAR America Motormouths, presented by Toyota.
Hi, I'm Parker Kligerman. For more access like this from Pit Road, be sure to click and subscribe to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube channel.